And this is all about Carlos's like how he got a job at Saatchi and Saatchi. So just to break it down, Carlos, I mean, do you want to introduce yourself instead, and then I'll introduce myself so you know who the speakers are today?
Yes, yes, of course. So I'm very, very excited to meet you all, guys, and can't wait to answer all your questions. So I'm Carlos. I did my AVI internship, I think it's on 2023, when I was actually based in Australia, and I moved to New York to do the internship, which was quite a step up because I was actively looking to grow up, my creative opportunities and to really kind of like identify where my next move was. And that's where I thankfully found the well, I think you guys found me first, I think, but it was a very nice opportunity to be able to really grow within this amazing program and this incredible community. Like, the support has been so unreal across the years, not only during the program but even afterwards. We've managed to stay in communication, and I can tell you guys that it is definitely a long-term relationship that you become very, very attached to this program. But basically, yeah, I did my internship in that year. After that, there was a lot of going back and forth with a lot of companies, but yeah, I ended up landing my job in Dubai, which made me created the opportunity for me to move here. And I've been on and off on different jobs, but I've always wanted to do something related to creativity. And it was a very interesting, journey, because I started as an architecture and then industrial design, and then finally, I started a little bit by a little bit, finding what actually I was very driven
Mhm.
for, and ended up finding out that I was very interested on branding. Originally from Mexico, but yeah, I'm currently now living in Dubai. I lived in Australia, in New York, and in other cities in the US. But yeah, and currently I'm working as a design director here in Dubai, and it's been amazing. I don't know if you want me to go over specific details, but that's kind of like an overview
Yeah,
of
no,
myself.
we'll go into it. I'm just showing your portfolio again, just so people can see your kind of artistic
Yes.
style. I know we were saying before, I know some people are joining in and for the recording that you've created this really amazing personal identity and brand across all of your platforms and have a really clear way of showing yourself. And we're going to dive into that a little bit too, I think. But also, I think it's safe to also introduce myself. So, everyone, my name's Ina. I'm not only the head of admissions here with Artbound, but also the head of strategic partnerships. So I also got my start with Artbound Initiative, but a long time ago. I'm from New York originally, and I really wanted to go abroad and be actually a graphic designer abroad, but with a fine arts twist, because I've always loved the fine arts world. And so I joined the Artbound Initiative program. I have a very collective background in theater and film and fine arts and everything. And so I was actually placed with an internship as a graphic designer for an art gallery, which is also something that we offer, which was amazing because I got to hybrid my graphic design skills and my fine arts aspirations. And since, joining the program, because of my niche interests, I decided to, after getting hired by the gallery that I was placed with, work with ABI to help the next generation. And so since my time with Artbound, I've, helped place over 1,000 interns internationally. I'm one of the co-coordinators for Berlin as well, and I've given career coaching to thousands of students worldwide. And I'm also helped set up hundreds upon hundreds of company partnerships. So that's why I'm also on this call today. I feel like I kind of, you know a bit of the trends, but I really can't wait to hear it from Carlos. Carlos is someone who we've seen really thrive and we're so proud of, and it's really great to share the screen with you today. So,
Very, very excited.
yeah, so let's just break down how we're going to do it. So, we're going to go over a little bit more about Carlos's journey and kind of showcase their portfolio. And then I'm going to do a little pause and I'm going to introduce kind of Artbound and who we are. And just so you are all aware, we are a career accelerator for creatives. If you're not familiar with Artbound, we help bridge the gap between what you're learning theoretically and technically in university and then what you need soft skill wise and practically to really launch your career. And then we're going to open it up for a Q&A session for Carlos and I. All right. So, without further ado. So, Carlos, I'm actually going to stop the share screen. So, walk me through maybe like how you got the role at Saatchi. So like how did you go from like your internship at Edison and in New York to then like all of a sudden appearing in Dubai and getting kind of that role?
Well, there's I always break it down to, core four core pillars on how to actually elevate your opportunities. And obviously the first one, as we were starting to talk about, is having a presence online, like even more relevant than 2 or 3 years ago, like nowadays. So I always said that I always wanted, I wish someone would have told me before to start Instagram or just posting online, even if it wasn't any good. Like, just exist on social media is key. Even
Mhm,
if you don't have a website portfolio, which I always encourage to have a website portfolio, you still need to have a presence online. So one thing will be definitely have a portfolio, whether it's Instagram, whether it's LinkedIn. The two main social medias that I would recommend on today's world would be Instagram or LinkedIn.
mhm,
uh, Hopefully two of them, because they cover different type of sectors and markets, so I would focus on having two of them. But
mhm,
definitely, yeah, the website is as soon as you can. Yeah, that's, for example, my Instagram. I've been migrating a little bit more of my content from a literally graphic design or more executional graphic design to a more like conceptual and creative direction and inspirational creative content. But yeah, and this is something key. I think you have to keep updating your portfolio to whatever you want to keep doing and the brand that you want to portray to the world. So that would be number one. The second one is that, especially in initial stages, that you have to continue doing this, but especially in initial stages, actively look for opportunities. Whether it's like, not everything has to be paid. There's a lot of things that you can do to generate experience. And something very, very important that I tell everyone is that if you are, let's say, for example, looking for, yeah, I want to, I really want to land an opportunity, but I don't know how to because no one wants to hire me. Just tell them that you're going to work for free, that you're going to go there and just going to learn. Most of the time, if you're there for free, after a while, companies will hire you, because it's much more likely to hire someone that already is in the system than to spend money, time, and resource into hiring and looking for external resources. So sometimes offering your time, for a month, for 3 months, it really pays off by really getting yourself into the system, because you cut a lot of steps in the hiring process. So that's also something very important. But that doesn't mean that is the only thing. You can find a network with people all across, different places, coffee shop, exhibitions, museums, like they're co-working spaces. So there's a lot of places. Something that I remember, very deeply and with a lot of love, is that every single weekend I was in coffee shops around, like Saturday and Sunday. Every weekend I was in coffee shops around 7 a.m., 8 a.m. every single weekend. And it's very strategic, that because you really meet the people that are only there to work. So if you go to places at the right time, at the right moment, you meet the people that are there to grind and to really elevate their craft and to do more of their life. So look for places that are going to put you in a better position just by being there, which is very important. Then the third thing, which is a little bit related to this, is that you need to find people. People is what is really going to connect you with opportunities, to places to. So I would say, if you, one thing is look for opportunities as a whole, and this one is actively look to connect with people. Like, I was sending messages all the time to people, to recruiters, to creative directors, to other designers. um, so really make connections as much as you can, because that's gonna really build up not only your circle but your opportunities. You never know. I've hired. It's very funny. I always tell this story, but it's I've hired people that I met long time ago. I hired actually a girl from Australia that I met when I was in Melbourne, and I hired because we met in Australia. So you never know that you're gonna meet someone, and then maybe in 4 years you're gonna be working together. So really speak as much as you can with people. Is gonna really open up a lot of opportunities. Then the fourth thing that I would say is that you need to invest either your time or money, whatever you have, into building more for yourself. Whether it's not really hanging out or not going for parties on the weekends, and really spending some time on yourself so that you can wake up the next morning and really be an early bird and go somewhere that you have to be. Or you try to save up money and you pay someone to get your social media on place, to help you with the website, to register to paid courses, to sign up for programs, conferences. But you need to actively be looking for opportunities where you're investing either your money or your time, whatever you have available. But you cannot just rely on what you already know. You need to expand, always actively look for opportunities to expand your knowledge, whether it's free or paid, but like expand your resources, your reach. And I would say those four things are what are going to build up the basis of what is going to take you to the next level. Obviously there's bits and pieces, smaller things, but I think those four things are what I would classify as the core pillars of what really brought me to where I am right now.
Yeah. So I want to just take a moment and break that down and actually give people some tangible action steps
Mhm.
because this is something I mean, I took a lot of the steps you did growing my career. And I think sometimes when we talk about these subjects, a lot of people are, well, I'm so tired. How do I find the time? And I don't have a lot of money. So how do I invest time or money when I don't have it? So I want to give some of you ideas. So one of the things that I did when I was in school, when I couldn't get jobs yet as a graphic designer, I became the graphic designer for clubs on campus. I became a graphic designer for campus activities. That got the word graphic designer on my resume. You will never see the light of day of those designs. They are horrible. They are the worst things ever. But look how you can also enrich your community because community speaks. And I think now more than ever, it's so good to know your neighbor. It's so good to know what's around you. And so if obviously, of course, volunteer at companies and things like this, but if you're going to already work a job, right? How can you already work with maybe within the industry or the equipment that you need? So if you need to work a job and there's a Staples near you, that you can do for like in the US, Staples, where it's just a huge printing store and sells also technology and office supplies. If you can work at the Apple store, because that's often a computer used by a lot of companies. If you can work at a copy or print shop, or work for your schools as like, I don't know, one of the computer lab supervisors, because then you get to see a lot of people's pieces. And then also go into your local community. Who's the freelance graphic designers in your community? Who needs the graphic designers from the small business like associations and meetups and networking events? That can drum up a lot of like ways for you to get graphic designer on your resume before going into these more well-established companies and while you're still building and honing your craft. Okay. I also think as well what a lot of people um over to really simplify being on social media because I think this is important. If I could recommend anything for graphic design students, get a LinkedIn and start following the agencies that you like because you'll see other projects, you're going to get more inspiration. And believe it or not, my new flatmate, they just went back to graphic design school in their 30s. When I tell you I am sending them design hacks and tricks from LinkedIn every week, you're going to find them. You're going to find shortcut keys. So that's a great skill builder. Check with your university. What free courses do they have through the library that you can already on your summer break, on your winter break, start leveling up and building your skill? And if there's one thing that I could recommend for anyone is minor in business if you're a graphic designer, because you will be your own business, right? And then also with your Instagram, and I'm going to show yours, Carlos, your
Mhm.
creative Instagram. And this was said by Tim Young, who's an amazing creative director that we've worked with for years. Your portfolio website is for your finished pieces. Your LinkedIn is for following the industry, maybe reposting articles, sharing your portfolio, sure, and your work accolades. Your artistic Instagram should be a way for people to get an idea of your personality and the way you artistically see the world. So exhibitions that excite you, things like, I don't know, maybe you've seen a really cool graffiti art and you want to post it. So Carlos, you do this really, really well where you have like a combo of like things you've done and then things that just interest you or angles that inspire you. So this is like a really good example of, ways that you can showcase artistically. It doesn't always have to be these like finished things. I'm gonna drop your thing
Yeah,
in
of
the
course.
chat. People can also share. So I just wanted to, reiterate that kind of going into the next question that I have for you, which is, what are some skills or qualities you think are most important for design students aiming to work at the top global agencies? And what are, I'm going to ask a pointed question with this because I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you too. Where do you think students, when you're seeing portfolios, are lacking on the skills that they need to build up? It could be technical, could be soft, but what are some of those things?
Well, I would start with two main things. I would say one is I think communication skills. It's a key thing that we focus a lot in the actual craft that we put into graphic design, and that's great. That's amazing, but you really need to also work in parallel with your communication skills. How do you actually sell your work? How do you present yourself? You need to have an elevator pitch. I actually learned this from AVI, and it's like I always sell this idea of the elevator pitch. You need to be able to sell yourself in 15 to 30 seconds maximum, and be very efficient on how you actually portray this persona to the world. So communication skills, and not only verbally but like in writing. Like the number one mistake that I see when I'm recruiting or hiring is like these long messages of like 300 words, 400 words, like, and they start, hey, I'm a graphic designer, and that is so. The moment that you see a message with 400 words, you immediately ignore it because you know it was templated, like you know for a fact. So you need to work on having an elevator pitch verbally, but also in the form of text, that you are very efficient at describing what you do. It has to become your mantra, because in order to be able to sell what you to sell what you do, you need to be able to actually say it and be able to efficiently uh, kind of like um yeah, communicated, I think. So I would practice a lot communication in terms of how to be more efficient on speaking. That's number one. I
Mhm.
would say the number two is proactiveness. I think don't wait until something happens. You have to be very proactive, like you not only reaching out to people, but like actively looking for people to give you feedback, to like, hey guys, what do you think? Hey, I used to reach out to a lot of people like just to give me feedback, right? So I think sometimes when someone just tells you, like, I used to receive a lot of messages from people, hey, can you just check out my website, can you just check out my portfolio? And that eliminates a barrier where they're not asking you for a position, but they're not really nagging, it's just asking for something. So when you're proactive, they like people actually get more interested about you because you're being strategically on how you're presenting yourself. You're asking for advice, and I think that says a lot about someone. It's not, it's not asking for handouts. It's just, I generally want your input on something. So proactiveness, communication, obviously crafting your work. I think we all know it's key. You need to master what you do, and you need to really practice on what I said that you want to develop. As I said, take the time to learn, to expand your knowledge, to go here to exhibitions, to take pictures of what you love, have a binder of samples. That's something that I still do, and I will always do. Like, things that you buy, save the packaging and then put it on a binder, and then really look at it later and then post about it. Like, try to describe it on your own words. Like, that's really is going to create a mental library of the things that you see, and it's going to remind you, oh, I saw this. And this happens all the time, by the way. Like, you see something, and a year ago or 6 months ago, you later, oh yeah, I saw this, and this might be useful for this work that I'm doing. So you think that you will retain that information, but you actually do. So when you're proactive about what you absorb, not only with people, but in general, your surroundings, that creates a different perspective. So I would
Yeah.
say, yeah, those three things.
Can you give, because I feel like, words can be so hard sometimes. And I think a lot of us get bogged down of how to send kind of maybe that first message on like LinkedIn or
Mhm.
those things. Can you give us like, maybe an example of the message that you used to send to people to ask them to look at your things, or the way that you introduced yourself to people online, like just very short, like punchy?
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend something very useful, and I don't say this as create a template that works for everything, but really make sure that you have a basic form of three. I would say I would describe three key categories, right? One would be other designers or the creatives. The other one would be recruiters, and the third one would be creative directors. Those are your base, at least on graphic design, those will be your three main categories. You need to be ready to have a message for those three kind of personas, right? That's what I used to do, and I used to, precisely message and speak to this kind of category. So if it's a graphic design, you want to keep it more casual, like, hey, how are you? I love always. Oh, I used to always start with I love your work, because everyone loves to be like appreciated. Like everyone, everyone is a narcissist, so everyone loves to be, kind of like receive good. Oh, I love your work. So I would always start with that. I love your work. I would really, really love to connect with you. And if possible, I would like to get some feedback on what is your opinion on my portfolio. What do you think? And what could be one thing that you would improve on my portfolio? Very simple, but always start with praising what they do, because everyone loves that. The second category would be recruiters. Recruiter gets a bit more tricky, because obviously you have to be more mindful of the time. So recruiters, are what I used to do is, hey, I'm Carlos Mendoza. I do this, and I'm really interested in working for the company that you represent. I would love to have an opportunity to chat with you, or if you can just check out my portfolio and let me know what do you think. But always make sure that you're presenting yourself and letting everyone know what is it that you do. And with creative directors or managers, I used to be a bit more like friendly with them, not really asking for anything, but like, hey, I love the work that you do. If you specifically know what can, for example, this is something that I used to do a lot. I reached out one time to a creative director in TBWA, which is a huge agency, and he managed the campaign for Cheetos with KFC, and the video was amazing, by the way. So sometimes that's something, an icebreaker that you can do. It's like, if you see something that you really like, really do some research on who's behind it, because that will break the ice in between this person and you. And I reach out to this guy and I told him, your work is amazing. I love the video that you did. And I will be super interested on connecting with you. And we ended up having a really good conversation. And he ended up being the friend of another creative director. And after I recommended one guy, he ended up getting hired by that person. So I think when you're with a creative director and stuff like that, have something that brings these two persons together, something that they did, something that you're interested on. But I would divide the messaging or how to approach these people in those three categories. I think is very important, because not one message fits everyone. You have to know how to speak to different characters, and I think that's also very important.
Yeah. Sounds like some things that you picked up when you did the program, right? From all the things that we go over. So
A
talk
lot of them, yeah.
that, like, because we do a lot of career coaching in our program, and I'm going to go through our program in a moment, everyone, just so you know. But like, what are some of the things that stuck out to you or supported your career that's still, sticking with you even now that it's been years since you've done the program?
I think one of the most important things was that you have to be part of a community. I
Mhm.
think reaching out, networking, I think that's one of the key things that really stood up to me. They like the program really encourage you to network and to go here and to go there and to speak to this person and to comment on this people's profile and like, hey, I have someone here. What do you think of this portfolio? Like, I think the notion of a community that is really there to support you and how you are being helped and guided into networking with other communities, other people. It's something that really, it's always in my head, and how important you guys really, how much attention you pay to networking. I think that's something that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the number one for sure.
Yeah.
Network.
Yeah, network is huge. And I'll be honest, everyone, what we're seeing in the trends, especially now with AI, online is getting saturated. And I can tell you firsthand, people are more likely to hire you when they've shaken your hand and they've said hello and they know your face. Not always your name, but your face at least.
Yeah.
And that's something that, like, I can say now, being over a decade into my career, um, or almost a decade into my career, the you never know what seeds are going to blossom into fruits, flowers, or weeds. And I think having a kindness and a respect to everyone. So meeting someone, sending a thank you note or thank you message, especially if like they're reviewing your portfolio or their resume for a note, like like always say thank you to everyone. That just stands out and it's always, goes much further than you know. But I do want to circle back to portfolios and then I'm going to walk through the program a little bit more. What advice would you give to young creatives who are looking to build a strong portfolio and like stand out in competitive markets?
Well, as we mentioned in the beginning, I think it's key that you have at least two social medias. And like I said, I would recommend LinkedIn and Instagram because I feel like those are the two things that you really want to be on. LinkedIn for a more professional and kind of like a bit more in the industry point of view, and Instagram for your daily kind of like who are you, who really are you, not really as a professional level, but like who are you as a person. I would say those are that's one very important thing. The other one which I recently covered is get external feedback. I think
Yeah.
when you are building your portfolio, obviously you want to put everything out there, everything that looks perfect, but always make sure that it's the portfolio is not for you, it's for everyone else. So you need to get external feedback on what is it that you're doing because and sometimes people are gonna be harsh and they're gonna not answer sometimes, or like they're gonna be like, yeah, it's not really that great, you need to do this, you need to do that. Sometimes they get personal, but you need to have to develop the ability to process feedback and to accept it and how to respond to it, because this is gonna be a forever issue, or not issue, a forever challenge in your career. Like you need to get used to getting feedback, and the first thing that you're gonna do is like get feedback on your portfolio. So I would really encourage you to actively look for feedback from, again, the three categories that we mentioned: managers, recruiters, and other graphic designers. I think I would reinforce that you need to be able to go back to these three categories in order to really get the most out of the 3 points of view. So I would say those are kind of like the two main things that I would say very concisely. It's very important to do.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about like the actual work and things that might be kind of in your portfolio. What were some projects that you did or have worked on? And if you want, you can pull up some examples as well on your computer. And like, what were some of like the challenges or lessons that stood out to you in those projects, or that, talking about feedback,
Yeah.
stuck out to you? And if you have examples with photos, that would be great. I can also pull it up your website too, if you would like.
Yeah, I can. I mean, okay, if you can pull, maybe we can pull up the Insta. I have the Instagram here, and I can maybe let me I can share my screen, right?
You should be able to. One second. If not, no, I can't because there's so many people in this. I can't let you share. But what I can
No.
do is, do you want me to pull up your website or?
Yeah, if you want to pull up my website, and we can maybe look at it and see.
Yeah. Well, what was one of the biggest projects you worked on that like you're like, oh my gosh, that's really, even if it's not on your website, that you were like, oh, this project was awesome and
Well, I can tell you one thing. For example, earlier, I would divide first of all. I think early in my career, I think if you go that one that is Canela, for example, that was my first paid job that I did, right? So I think there is I would divide this into like three categories. One is the proactive or just kind of like in initial started projects that you do. Then is your first actual project that you do, and then from now on is your actual work that you do in an agency, on studio or something like that. But this one was my first paid work that I did, that I actually see how it developed, and you had a client and you had someone giving you feedback. And it's very interesting because when you're doing your own work, you don't you assess your work with your own eyes, but when you have someone else assessing your work, it becomes quite more you realize things that are more real and tactical. Like for example, in the posters, right, you think they are cool and everything like that, but then you realize that when you print them, I wasn't aware of the CMYK and how they fade with the sun, or that the merge you need to take into consideration sometimes, that if you do two prints, it's going to cost more. So I think one very important thing, that when you go from doing projects for yourself and then you step it up and you have a client, you need to take into consideration that there's going to be variables that you might not be aware of, such as printing, production, sometimes things that as a business owner they know because they have to pay for them, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's something that it was like the first project that I did. It was like very, very interesting to learn about that, POV from the client.
Yeah. I would
For
also
sure.
say, everyone, if I can encourage you to do one thing, especially if you're more illustrator leaning, learn typography. Please. It is the biggest thing. I'll be honest, when I'm reviewing portfolios for ABI, if someone does type, like someone understands typography in the way you do, Carlos, versus someone who doesn't, it is very clear. And I think that's what often like brings someone looking from like a junior to a senior or a professional, you know? All right, I want to take a small pause and then I want to open it up for questions. So let me just take you quickly through who we are at Artbound. So we are a global career accelerator for creatives. So our whole premise is to, like I said, help students bridge that gap between like what they're learning technically and theoretically in uni, right? And when you actually need to know soft skill wise or some of these like hot tips that we were talking about today. We place all around the world, so in New York, Chicago, LA, Miami, and Austin, which are our new cities, London, Berlin, Melbourne, Sydney, and we even have virtual internships that can be done from all over the world. We place in a wide range of internship types. And what's nice is you're not limited to just one type or one industry. We can mix and match. So often for graphic design majors, not only graphic design, branding, art direction, layout design, motion, UI, UX, and web design or content creation. But I also recommend great backups like social media management or project management, which will help you boost up those soft skills too. We have a full Artbound Initiative Academy where we do like almost like 50 hours of professional development with you. That's all online. Yes, Carlos, we have redone it since you did it. We've made it even better. And so, like, I can say it's one of those things if you put what you put into it, you get out tenfold for sure. And we do guaranteed internship placement. We handle all the admin to place you, and we give you lifelong access to our creative network, which spans all over the world, as well as giving you dedicated support. So in the academy, this is going to break down into profile revamp, recruitment, and travel preparation. So helping you understand how to be a competitive job seeker as a creative, while also revitalizing and revamping your materials by people in the industry. We're also going to go over internship readiness and industry coaching, like do's and don'ts, unwritten rules, what to actually expect. So if you're liking what you're hearing here, this is just a little crumb of the things that we go over. And also we're going to mix this with like things that you can watch, interactive, meeting others, video tutorials, and we give you a certificate in career essentials and professional development. This is what our online portal looks like, really easy to follow. We've broken it down so it fits around anyone's schedule. Some of our industry experts and advisors include people from Warner Bros., Omnicom, Aquint, Paramount, Ralph Lauren, Shutterstock, and many others. We have the design manager of Pepsi and Co. UK as well, among many, many others. So this is a nice little schnook. We also do guaranteed internship placement. So in between module 1 and 2 of our program, we take over from there and we handle all the admin for placing. So we'll send your profile to hundreds of companies, secure you interviews and offers, and we have internships ranging from 3 to 6 months. They can be part-time or full-time. They can be for credit or experience. They can be, we do have about actually 60% of our alum getting hired post-internship. So a lot of them end up being a really great hiring opportunity, but we do like to be transparent. We are in recession in a lot of places around the world, and every industry is slightly different. So we like to be transparent that we can't always guarantee that the internship will be paid, but you are guaranteed an internship, and if it's unpaid, you can only do part-time, or if it's unpaid and you can only do like a virtual internship, we'd be happy to accommodate. Okay, we want this to work for you and with you, not against you. Okay. And we have a wide range of company partners, creative agencies, advertising agencies, marketing firms, content production companies, galleries and art institutions, project spaces. If you are going abroad, we're going to help you with like visa processing, insurance arrangements, housing arrangements, pre-trip information, in-city orientation, on-site support. We also have housing in all of our cities. It's optional. You don't need to utilize it, but there is safe and vetted housing that is fully furnished and fully equipped in every city. and we give you dedicated support throughout the whole program. So you'll have a team of coordinators helping you through each phase of the program, and you'll have in-city coordinators who are your designated go-to people in the city. All of our in-city coordinators are also career professionals. Like they are also active members of the community and they're in the creative sectors themselves. So they can really give you that like on the nose advice. And then you'll be part of our global community. You'll get access to everyone who's done the program, is doing the program through our own app. We have our own networking app just for us. We have monthly meetups in all of our cities, which you'll get lifelong access to in every meetup in every city. Okay. Also, you'll get access to exclusive job boards, to workshops and insider talks, even beyond these ones that we're doing today, career tips, forums, guides, and so much more. I've gotten jobs off of this. Yeah, I think one of the big highlights for me now that I'm so many years from doing the program, I did it over 8 years ago, is a lot of the network, like a lot of the people I met when I did the program of my peers who did the program. Like I'm doing an art project with someone in South Korea right now. I just finished designing a book with someone in New York. Like there's ways to have connections in almost every time zone, and there's ways to really build that with a community of like-minded and driven individuals, which I think is quite unique. And we have amazing alum, if I do say so myself. We do have a tuition for the program for virtual and local. It's around 2,250 USD, and for international, it's 3,250 USD plus visa and housing. But we do have grants for local programs, which are everywhere from 500 to the full tuition off. And we have more information about all of this on our website. Okay. Now, if you want to check your eligibility, I'm going to post this as well for you. We'll also be emailing you after today with kind of like more of an overview as well, and also the recording, of course. But I'll also add this in the chat for y'all, for those who are interested in hearing more about the actual program. But I want to focus again on the insider talk. And yeah, we would. I do want to. There was one question about the program that I do want to just answer. How long is the program and what's the cost of it? So we went over the costs. By the way, you can also see a breakdown of like the individual cities and like their pricing in terms of if there's a visa that you need, because not everyone needs a visa everywhere and not everyone needs housing everywhere. So we did keep those a la carte. Most popular way people pay is in 4 installments, which does break it down over 4 months. And then you would pay the visa after that, and then you would pay the housing while you're living there, if you need those things. We also have grants and scholarships, not just ours, but ones from universities or external grants and funding to look into. So again, we wanted to make this accessible to everyone. Um, with that, though, the average participant is with us for about 9 months of continuing dedicated support. So there's 6 months of prep, which is done fully remote, right? Fully from your computer while you're doing the academy section. Okay. That is done fully remote. That's done over 6 months. We wanted to spread it out so we had enough time to finalize your placement. It's bite size. So like you can easily fit this around a class schedule, work schedule, school schedule. So if you want to do this summer, so summer of 2026, like May, June, July start dates, we need your application by November 10th. That's our priority deadline. Okay. And then you would do the internship over the summer break. All right. So that's kind of the time frame. All right, cool. Also, too, we also have some more events coming up. So I will leave the QR code here while we're kind of just talking a little bit more of the Q&A. And actually, what I'll do is instead, I'm going to just add the events page for you all. So that way, if you do like this insider talk and you want to come to more events, we have some really cool ones coming up. For instance, with like L'Oreal, but also things like how to create a award-winning portfolio, how to understand the new hiring trends with AI, how to make a standout resume. Again, this doesn't replace the program. They're nice little nuggets, little insights, but there are give back to you all. And if those are interests of you, sign up for those. Okay, cool. So I want to start pivoting to the questions. So the first question we got was to network. What are some of the best associations or affinity groups or conferences that you can recommend?
Well, I guess this depends a lot based on the city that you're on and and where you live and where you exist.
Yeah.
But I would say you really want to be follow, for example, pages on Instagram that post about galleries or exhibitions or things like that. I would always, wherever I used to live, I used to always go to the try to look out for what are the exhibitions, museums, and things like that, and then I will make a list. I'll make a list of the things that I really wanted to go. And you can do actually something very handy on Google, on Apple Maps. You can actually mark places that you're pending to go. So you don't have to remember on a list or something like that. So I used to do that a lot. I used to pin places. So whenever I'm in the around the area, I just go. You know, if I have 2 hours, 3 hours free, I would just go there. So I used a lot of the app for just pin places that I wanted to go. So that would be one thing,
Yeah,
because I don't know exactly what cities, but that's one thing that I would do, definitely.
for sure. Yeah, I would also like I would start, looking at the agencies or places that you're interested in potentially like working one day. Like I would genuinely look at where people in your school, what parts like they're part of. Obviously, Artbound is a great one, obviously, but
Yeah.
like there's also things like Circle One or social clubs and sometimes also as a student it's really nice looking at those things because there's often like student discounts for memberships as well.
Mhm.
And also, by the way, I'm gonna send in the chat. I've sent both mine and Carlos's LinkedIn links, so you guys can follow us and add us on LinkedIn as well. So I would say before you leave university, try to like get like 200 connections on LinkedIn through your professors and classmates and stuff. That will also help because you'll start seeing things that they post as well. All right. So how
Yeah.
does one keep a relationship warm once the first connection has been made?
Sorry,
Ooh.
can you repeat the question?
Yeah, how does one keep a relationship warm? Or like how does one keep,
Mm.
a network once the connection is made?
So I'm gonna give you a very good example. There was one guy that I met a long time ago, exactly how I told you on Instagram. Hey, I love your work. What are you up to? Like, and we just kept following each other on LinkedIn, on Instagram. We just kept commenting like, hey, how are, like, and
Yeah.
he was, the tactical here thing here is just keep messaging, keep commenting. That's one key thing. But you want to keep those connections alive, because now that guy that I met a long time ago, I hire him now here in Dubai. So you really want to, even if it's you or the other person, someone has to do it if someone is interested, right? So if you really like the profile of someone, some maybe it's a graphic designer, maybe it's a manager, you want to keep up the relationship by messaging or commenting, especially on LinkedIn. Is very important that you're actively commenting, because sometimes friend requests or things like that on LinkedIn, yeah, they're really good, but when you comment, is like an extra step. And I always see when people are commenting on my post, you pay more attention to that. So that will be one thing that I will do in LinkedIn. Really make sure that you're actively commenting, not only random stuff, or like very curated answers. Like, for example, if someone puts a picture, and this is another very funny thing, because I actually hire a person based off a comment. I made a post about a poster that I see in Dubai. I saw in Dubai. The graphic designer that designed the poster commented on my post and said, "Oh, I was the graphic designer that I did," and we actually made the connection from there, and I ended up, hiring that person. So my point is, like, the comments on LinkedIn are very powerful, and I will really encourage you guys to, if there's one thing that I would say to keep up the conversation going, commenting on LinkedIn and on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, and the follow-up question to that was like, what are natural reasons to reach out months or years after meeting someone? One of the best advices I can give is you're gonna forget people, right? I think it's fair to say like you're gonna forget people. So what I would highly recommend is, does everyone know the scene in The Devil Wears Prada where those two books got slammed on Andy's desk and she had to memorize all of them for an event that night? I would, oh, sorry, Carlos, I think I muted you by accident. There you go.
Right.
I would create your own version of those books. So like create a Google sheet with like the name, the position, the contact info, the social handles of people that you're meeting, like not just in LinkedIn, but like for yourself. And then keep a catalog of the projects they've worked on or little funny personal anecdotes. Like, do they like knitting? Ask them how their knitting projects are going when you see them next. When was the last date of your last meeting or the last time you messaged them? And that will also help you see people that maybe you've missed. And then a natural way you can reach out, and something that I've actually done when reactivating old people, is when I saw an article on LinkedIn about something we talked about, I forwarded it to them. I was like, hey, saw this article. I remember us talking about this way back in the day. Also, how have you been? And the power of, hey, I was thinking about you. Like, I hope you're doing well. How is life going? That's a really powerful message as well. Or like being like, oh, I saw this project you just did. Congratulations. How did you get on it?
Yeah, I actually used to also do that, just adding up to that. Like I used to, whenever I used to reach out to more specific people, I used to have a list divided again on the three categories that I was mentioning. And I had a catalog of when was the last time that I spoke to this person and what was the topic. So that let's say, for example, in 2 months or 3 months, I can go back and then I ask them about whatever we were speaking. Or maybe sometimes you speak to a manager and they were like, I remember very specifically, it was the a creative director for a huge agency. I don't remember which one, but we were speaking and I asked him like, I'm super keen about what you do. And then after a while we re-spoke again and he actually remembered what we were speaking about. But I was able to do that because I had a list of the people that I was reaching out. So that's important because you don't want to just reach out for the sake of doing it. If you find someone that is key, you want to make sure that you're kind of like keeping track of who is those key individuals
Yeah.
for sure.
All right. And then quick answer on this one, Carlos. Can you bullet point rapid fire the softwares you use on a day to day?
Well, yeah, because it has changed very, very dramatically for the in the last year because now AI is taking over in a lot of different spaces. But I would say Illustrator is still, pretty much relevant, especially for more technical and precise printing solutions or more elevated um, kind of like things. Figma for a lot of, especially in my team, we use a lot of Figma. So and Figma is getting more and more used. So I would really encourage everyone to learn Figma. It's very highly powerful tool. It's incredible how powerful it is. I would say the third one, and I think it's something that we all need to learn about, is AI. Like you need to familiarize yourself with ChatGPT, Midjourney, Nano Banana. There was one that it's in intra imagery. I will send you the link so maybe we can like send them across different channels. But yeah, AI it's very, no matter what industry or what sector of the creative industry you are on, you need to familiarize yourself with AI, whether it's one of the ones that I mentioned or other ones. But I would say yes, Illustrator and Figma are right now the key ones that we're using in my place of work.
Yeah. And last question,
Yeah.
right? I think that this is a really good one. And I know there was one or two others, but if we have time, I'll get to them. How do you stop chasing perfection in passion projects and case studies?
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think you learn after you learn that people don't chase perfection. They want someone that is driven and that is willing to uh be themselves through their work by putting the effort. I think we confuse what is perfection and what is consistent. And I think consistency is always going to be better than perfection because you want to be consistent on what is it that you do, even if it's not perfect all the time. You want to make sure that you're showing up, and that is not only with craft, but it's like the way that you show on conversations, on comments, on conferences, exhibitions. So I think consistency over perfection is going to win all the time. So you don't want to be perfect, you want to be consistent, I would say.
I would agree. I think
Yeah.
consistency is key. And I also think, that kind of also leads into another question which we have time for very quickly as well. Do you have any interview tips?
Sorry, which one?
Interview tips.
Interview tips. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah, I think once let's assume that you already, landed the interview and everything went well with the message that you sent, that you communicated. I think one of the things that I would say is that you need to be ready. There's always going to be questions that they're going to ask. And I think that's very, very important that you need to be ready to answer those questions. Some of them would be, who are you and who are you as a person? The next one that I would say is very, very important, and I always ask it is, what is your plan in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years? What is it? How do you visualize yourself? What are you, going for? What are you planning? I think that's very, very important. They need to understand what is your overview, how are you planning your life, what are you passionate about, what are you, I think that's very important. I always make sure that when I'm, doing interviews, I ask the question about, so what is it something that you're working on that you want to improve, because I want to make sure that I'm hiring someone. And this is something, it's connected to something very important that I always highlight, is that we don't want to hire the perfect graphic designer. That is amazing, but if you hire someone that is perfect already, it's gonna last you, for a good time. But if you hire someone that is, it's okay, it's doing well, but it's super helpful, super happy to learn, is super proactive, is willing to, to listen, to learn, in the long term, is always something better that we're looking for. Someone that is willing to really step up and play their part. Because sometimes when you hire someone that is already seasoned, is great, but in the long term, it's always better to hire someone that is super driven. It's gonna give you better results.
And also, if I can say something as someone who interviews hundreds of students a month, please be mindful of what you are wearing and what your background is. If I have to see one more hoodie in an interview, and the reason why I say this is when you're interviewing, like, yes, clothing shouldn't matter. It matters who you are as a person. But when you are interviewing, you have to remember what you as a Gen Z versus what maybe a boomer or what maybe a Gen X or a millennial is going to view as professional, right? You always want to think about not just what do you view as professionalism, but what could the person who's interviewing me view as professionalism? And one of the most easiest ways that you can do that is by putting together an outfit. Even if it's like, let's say maybe business casual or it's something like that, not like I would not, even if the interview is on Zoom, don't treat it like you were going to, I don't know, an online Zoom class. Like treat it like you would be meeting, I don't know, your partner's parents or going to like a fancy restaurant or, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to let that lead you in because it's really easy to make a good first impression and impressions stick with you. So if you can show that you respect yourself enough to pull together an outfit and highlight, even if it highlights your character, but pull something together and put thought and put effort into that, it does still speak on the interview section.
I want to follow up on that. I think that's very important. And more important, I would reinforce that with 2 points. One, the first one will be that make sure that whenever you have an interview, if you already have it, send them a message and tell them, hey, by the way, just want to, check in. Do I have to do anything in advance? Do I need to prepare anything? Do I need to make sure, or am I need to be aware of something? Just reinforce that you're interested on pulling the best version of yourself for that interview. Even if there's nothing that you need to do, you still ask the question, because that shows that you care a little bit more to be, okay, do I need to do something else? And the second one, I think that's very important. You need, whether it's internationally or locally, you need to make sure that you're asking, or you need to understand what is the context of the interview that you're making. Because, for example, here in the Middle East, if you're searching an interview in the Middle East, you need to be aware of the cultural background that you're going to be applying for. Depending on where you are and where you're going to be applying, you need to understand what is the people that are going to be in the interview. Because here, for example, you have to be more mindful of what you wear, because otherwise, some things are not accepted culturally. So you need to be aware of who are you going to be interviewing with in order to, portray the best version of yourself. So I think that's very important. You need to understand what is going to be the context of the interview so that you can prepare yourself better. That's very
Yeah, and
important.
also like I'm gonna say this to girls, if you normally wear makeup, if on your day-to-day life or for events you wear makeup, wear it for the interviews because we like if you especially if you're someone who when you don't wear makeup it looks like you're not wearing makeup, then wear it. If you don't wear makeup ever, don't worry about it, but like I would say like don't pick that the day to not have a face on, compared to days when you do. So that's one of the things that I've also noticed. Unfortunately, everyone, It was such a pleasure. I will need to end the Insider Talk as there is another Insider Talk going on a different campus that I have to get to. But it was so great to have all of you here. We did put Cards Minds LinkedIn in the chats. We're going to be sending out the recording and also emailing you all after this. And thank you so much again, Carlos, for taking the time so late. I know it's like probably bedtime for you now at 10, so thank you
No,
so much. And
fine.
I've added you on LinkedIn. Let's connect there. And yeah, connect with us on LinkedIn, guys. And I hope you have a great
Yes, please. If you like right away, if you have any questions that you guys didn't have time to put on the chat or to speak about, please send them to me on Instagram or LinkedIn, and I'll be very, very happy to answer whatever you guys need, because I understand that maybe some of the questions didn't get answered, but please send the messages right across and I'll make sure to answer them 100%. See
All right, everyone. Well, have a great rest of your day. Bye.
you
Thank
everyone. Bye bye.